Hello and welcome back to the Keep Right On podcast. Today I'm joined by Stephen Carr, a man who initially joined Birmingham City on a 1-month contract back in 2009, but would eventually go on to lead the club to Carling Cup glory at Wembley. Stephen, thank you very much for coming on. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Living in the sun, I can't complain.
I was going to say, I saw, is it Spain you live in? Can you give us a little bit of insight into what you're doing now?
Yeah, I live in Spain now. I moved the minute I finished actually at Birmingham. I moved. I'm involved in restaurants, the Salad Group, Beach Club. So I got stuck into that, to be honest, something different for me. So yeah, I find that very interesting.
Lovely, much nicer weather as well. Taking you back to around the time when you joined Blues, you obviously were at Tottenham for a long time, moved to Newcastle, had a good stint there as well. You left Newcastle in 2008. Did you intend to stop playing at the time? Was it retirement for you at that particular time?
No, not at all. I had a few problems injury-wise at the end, but I was fit. The problem was I couldn't get a club. And then it's as simple as that. Obviously, people think maybe it's to do with money and not the right club. I couldn't get a club for whatever reason. That's football, you know what I mean? You're soon forgotten. So that's when I moved back to Ireland. I was just doing my own stuff. And then obviously through the doctor that used to work, is very close to Alex Dicken, I got a trial just after Christmas, I think, going back. And that's how it all started for me. Like I had no arrogance about that. I had to go on trial, had to prove myself again, which is fine. I was confident in my own ability. So from there, just it went on. Obviously, we needed to go up for me to get a contract, and went to the last game. So yeah, that's basically how it all started for me. And then obviously, I had some most amazing memories in football being at Birmingham, which is very strange considering what I'd come from to where I was at. To end up having that at the end of my career was, I could never have written that. Like, it was unbelievable.
How long did the trial last? Because some of these trials can last, a month if it's in pre-season, but obviously it's mid-season. Was it a fast thing? Was it a week and whatever? And what kind of shape did you come in?
It was like a month, but obviously I'd done my own training, but doing your own training, football training is completely different. Like, I was doing my training on my own. So it took me a few weeks to get up to speed with it a bit, you know what I mean? And then it went for another couple of months, and then it was, if we go up, you'll be getting a contract, as Alex said to me. So obviously it's quite you're on edge a bit, because at the end of the day it's in the hands of the whole team to go up. But yeah, it just went for a month, then another bit. I think it was really bad weather. I was meant to play in a game, and I didn't. I think, thank God, I'm not ready for it. You know what I mean? It's so different. Hadn't played a proper competitive match for around 10 months. So, and then I think I made my debut against Crystal Palace away and had to mark Zaha. And I'd done my groin during the week, and I didn't say I went to London to get treatment from Physio Trust there. So I just kept it all shush. Because I had to play. As simple as that. If I didn't play, I got through it in the end, got results. So yeah, just kept going from there. As I said, once I got playing, I knew I'd work my arse off to get fit. But match fitness is completely different.
You obviously come to a club on trial, having, by your own admission, not been able to get a club during the previous summer. You could never have imagined that, looking back now, you'd have been the captain of a team that would win, probably arguably on the greatest day in Birmingham City's history.
Yeah, like for me, it was just playing football again, which I enjoyed, like being trained with all the lads. You couldn't write it, to be honest. To end up being captain there as well, and going on and doing what we've done, having a great place in the league, win the cup. Will always live with me. It's nice because my kids were a bit older; they could appreciate it as well. They have their memories. They always have that empathy now with Birmingham. So yeah, it's phenomenal.
Do you remember much of that day at Wembley? It was a dramatic one. It wasn't done the easy way.
No, yeah, I remember enough of it. Like, we were confident as a team. I know people say you're the underdog, but we were confident because I know a group of lads that would never give in. And I think if you have that in a team, there's always a chance. Arsenal had more quality, without a shadow of a doubt. They built a different team over a long period of time. But I knew the group of lads we had were confident getting the result and would go to the end. And things happened in the game. They could have got a player sent off and leave Boria. Probably worked better for us because it would have changed things. Sometimes it's harder playing against 10 men. But yeah, it was dramatic. Obviously, a dramatic late goal. As you say, when you've got a good group of players and a manager that trusts you, you can do anything. Doesn't matter who you're playing against.
Yeah, I mean, there were some really memorable games going up to that final. Obviously, the West Ham game in the semi-final, but also the Aston Villa game at St Andrews. Can you talk me through that match from your perspective? It
But
must have been
they're
incredible to
probably
play.
they're in my career. I think they're probably they're definitely up there, the two best games I've ever been involved in.
Mm,
Because in them we're losing, but you could feel the stadium right behind you. You could get it, and they were part of why we ended up getting to Wembley. There's no two things like if you've got a crowd and it's a stadium that it can be intimidating. Then you can feel it. It's the old type stadium. They were unbelievable games, absolutely unbelievable. I mean, mates there, my family, it was phenomenal. Um, Especially Aston Villa, it's a derby game as well. It adds a bit more to it than obviously West Ham, and we played well against West Ham away as well. But yeah, uh, unbelievable. My son, he watches some of it still. He sends me, he says, "You see this again?" Because the atmosphere was phenomenal, absolutely rocking. Um, and as I said, when you have that behind you, it goes a long way as a team.
yeah, I've been to loads of games, but still not many compared, or none actually compared to that Birmingham Villa game for me. You obviously already had your own bit of history with Villa from the previous season, with
Yeah,
a little gesture at Villa Park. I bet you still get Blues fans thanking you for that to this very day, don't you?
yeah, I do. Yeah, that's the passion of football. At the end of the day, I was never going to apologise for that because is it the right way to go about things at times? No, but you're passionate. I thought we got done over. I was angry. Um, Sometimes you overstep the mark, but for me, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I know it meant a lot to the Blues fans, but it wasn't done like that. It was done purely on just passion and had enough of it. I thought we got robbed there that day. We played well, got a penalty against us. So yeah, it's just passion. Unfortunately, I missed the game then over it. Home game, I think, the last home game. So that was I was a bit gutted about. But yeah, yeah, that's football. You know what I mean? Sometimes there's not enough passion out there.
That was obviously in the 09-10 season. The club finished ninth in the Premier League, best ever finish since the Premier League came in. How good was that season? Because I think, that felt like a real opportunity for the club to build, didn't it, at the end of that season?
Yeah, that's where it should build. When you have that type of season, we're just quite solid. We're getting late goals. We're having a good run. Should have finished a bit higher, to be honest. We not that we down tools, right? We just didn't get as many results down near the end. We could have finished higher, to be honest. Which would have been even better, but still an unbelievable finish for us. Should have built, but unfortunately, what came next wasn't very good. I think poor ownership, poor investment, um, and took the heart and soul out of the club unfortunately. It's been built back up now, thank God. It was took time. It's been a dark place for a good few years. They ruined the club, unfortunately. Um, Very, very sad because they can walk away and the club is in a bad place. And as I just highlighted, I think you got new people in who, who are committed to building the club, building the city all around us. So I think it's amazing now. It's in a good place. Still tough, tough times ahead. It's not easy getting into the Premier League, from where they come from, but at least they're on the right path now. You can see a future. I think the fans can. That's why the stadium's full all the time. There's an atmosphere. They have hope where they didn't have it for a good few years. They didn't see the club going anywhere with the previous owners. So I think it's all positive now with the Blues.
I was going to come on to that. Was there a point in your, I think it was 4 years or four and a bit years you spent at Blues, where it changed and became more difficult behind the scenes, or was it always just, the owners aren't there, aren't visible?
No, I thought it was farcical to be honest, but as a group of players, you get on with it. You know, I mean, you can't get involved in that side of it. It's tough for the manager in charge as well, dealing with the not getting the answers. It goes Hong Kong or China or wherever. It's not easy for a manager to manage that. For players don't get involved. At the end of the day, you're paid by the club. You play for the club. You play for the fans, regardless of who the owner is. Um, but yeah, it wasn't good times. But you could see it. You could kind of see it's going to be a bit farcical, to be honest. Um,
Yeah.
and they end up getting, as you say, one of the best days in the club's history at Wembley, which is very very strange. But yeah, but as I say, you have to look forward. Them days they're gone. Complete new, different structure, new owners, passionate, who care, and so it's all good.
So after Wembley, you obviously win the final. You're a massive high. Then 3 months later, you end up getting relegated to the Championship. Where do you think it went wrong? I've been speaking to Cameron Jerome on the podcast recently, and he, suggested it was down to kind of a combination of a lack of investment. When you had that good season and looked to jump again, and potentially some real key injuries in the second half of that season. I think Scott Dan didn't play much, did he? Or was out for a long period.
We didn't have the biggest squad. You know what I mean? That's no disrespect to other players that they play in the place, but we had a solidness. So when you miss one or two of them, it becomes, and it's like the results were just impossible to get. It was the most strangest situation. It wasn't as if players thought, "Oh, we won the cup, we're fine." It wasn't that. It's just you couldn't get the result. It was really weird that team has gone from that to not getting the result. And we'd opportunities, like, we went down with nothing. It was so close. So it was in our hands. It's, as I say, I went from one of the highest to the lowest point of my career, other than injuries, missing the World Cup. That was a very low, especially I went back to Tottenham where we ended up getting relegated. So it was very, very disappointing because you knew once that had happened, you're facing a different team. Players are going to go, players are going to get sold. Some players will want to move on. So it just gets dismantled. So very, very disappointing. As you say, you go from that high to that low in that period of time so quickly was the lowest point for me.
As you mentioned, there was mass exodus, wasn't there? Players left, even the manager left. Could you have left? And what made you stay at that point back in summer of 2011?
No, I didn't. I was very, very happy. I owed a lot to the club. The fans. They gave me an opportunity late on in my career when no one else would. The fans were amazing with me. I had a great affiliation with the fans. So I'm not saying I was happy. I was happy being there, but obviously I wasn't going to be happy with what's going to come next. I'd never really played in the Championship either. I played just when I went on trial, which is a tough league. I think it's harder than the Premier League in a different way. But then it's going to change. As I say, Alex went as well. New manager comes in. Is there going to be enough investment to get you back up? Because you have to, especially if you don't keep a team. I think Newcastle done it. And actually, he kept his whole team. He took the gamble on it, and he walked it. And if you don't, teams coming down, then there's other teams who are closer. Very, very difficult to get out of that league, which is seen many a year.
It was a strange situation because you've obviously been relegated to the Championship, but yet you're still in Europe, or you're getting to play in European competition. Doesn't happen to many clubs. Can you talk me through those? I know you didn't play all the games. You played 3, I think, and you played the games against Nacional, the away game at Nacional as well. Talk me through that experience of playing in Europe whilst being in the Championship.
Yeah, as you say, I didn't play many. We picked, not picked, it shows the games, but obviously I had quite a lot of injuries. And it just takes its toll at the end of the day. It doesn't matter how fit you think you are. So you have to be clever with it. And there's a lot of games in that Europa as well. Like there's tons of games. How far you go? Yeah, it's a very strange being, as you say. It's not usually for a Championship team to be playing in European football. But then again, does that help you either? Because great for the fans, but I don't think it helps the team because it takes its toll. There's a lot of games. You have a big enough squad you're coming back Thursday, travelling games. They come quick and only in the Championship without having European football in it. So I think it was actually detrimental to the team having that, as much as it's great. If you're in the Premier League, it's different. The games don't be as frantic and come as quick. So I don't. As I say, I think it's detrimental being in Europe when you're in the Championship. I think it's near on impossible. You need to have some side squad, which we didn't. To cope with it.
How big an achievement was that then for the team to finish 4th and get into the playoff spots, even though it was essentially fighting on 2 fronts? You've obviously got the domestic cups here as well.
Oh yeah, it's an unbelievable achievement. But as you say, you've your cups at home, you've the league, and then you've that. Top teams in England can't cope with that. You see it. You see it in the Premier League. Teams who are going forward and forward, they're still in all the cups. Sometimes they end up with nothing because it does take its toll. You rely on players not getting injured. it is very, very difficult to compete on all them fronts, especially in the championship. I think it's impossible, to be honest. But you want to be in every game. I mean, you can't sack it off. Like the Carling Cup brought us such glory. So you need to be. You can't pick. Oh, that's not as important. Every game's important. So very, very tough. Very tough. You can't. I don't think you can. I think you'd have to have some squad of players, and I don't think many teams could actually cope with all them games.
Just bring you to the end of your Blues career now, Stephen. So obviously you had a couple of injuries from the second half of that 2011-12 season. Can you talk us through how that decision came to then retire in 2013?
Well, the thing is, I was getting fit, and I felt unbelievable. I was training really hard. The fitness coach there felt unbelievable, but then there was all of a sudden I felt crunching in my knee. I said, this doesn't seem right. And I felt unbelievable. I was in good shape, everything's fine. So I went to the knee surgeon and he says, it's gone, your cartilage is all just deteriorated now in your knee. He says, your kneecap's offline, everything is a mess. He obviously asked the question, if I got the op, can I continue? And his recommendation, you can't. Like, you know what I mean? You just can't. I'll fix it for you. I'll reconstruct your knee. I think I was out for a year with it. And I've done that before, which is, it's hell. But you come to terms with thinking, this is it. Like, I've been very, very lucky. I've been blessed to play a lot of games, a lot of big games, played for my country, have an amazing finish with Birmingham. As much as we got relegated, I said the memory was still unbelievable when the Carling Cup, having a good run in the league. So sometimes there's young players that finished at 20, 21 with bad injuries. So I always looked at that. I was very lucky. I could cope with it like that. So I just got myself right for when I can be still doing the things I want when I finish playing football, and that's what he done for me. But it's a long one, like, you know what I mean. Listen, you're in bed for 6 weeks on a machine, like it is now. It's very, very depressing, and I think that's what a lot of players struggle with it. But yeah, your time's up. Your time's up. As I said, I always looked at. I was very lucky. I wasn't unlucky getting that injury. I was very lucky to be able to have a career.
I can tell from speaking to you that you still look back on your time at Blues very fondly. You've obviously mentioned the new ownership. Do you still keep tabs on the club? How do you keep tabs? And have you been over to the club recently?
No, I haven't been over. I tried to I was at the cup game with Craig Gardner because he just asked me to come over. I could be very busy here. I watch out for them all the time. When I can watch them on the box, I'd watch them. As I said, I'll always have unbelievable memories. I need to get over. You know what I mean? My son does be at me like to get over. He loves it. Because he could see how respected I was by the fans. So I should give a bit back and be over there, which I will making me goal to get over before Christmas and get a game in. Because as I said, memories are unbelievable. Take relegation out, you have to do the positives. It was unbelievable, and the club now are in a good place going forward, and hopefully they can. Not easy. You know what I mean? They've gone from League One into that championship as hell. I think you have to just have stability. I think the fans have to be a bit patient. It's not easy going all the way up to the Premier League, because the three teams that come down, in general, they're the strongest to go back up. So you're fighting that. You just come up, but they're in a good place. They're in a good place. Will they need investment? Of course they need investment. Like, you know what I mean? And the new owners know that. You know what I mean? They're not silly. They know that. So I think if they have a good season and for next season, because I think it's tough to come up and then go again. Yeah, you never know what's happened, but it's very rare.
You'll be more than welcome back at St Andrews. Stephen, thank you very much for joining me and sharing stories from your time at Blues. Much appreciated. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Please do hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment for Stephen in the comment section. Thank you very much, and a big keep right on.
Cheers, mate. Thanks very much.